She couldn't stop the smile that kept returning to her lips, no matter how hard she tried to appear calm. Outside the oval window, the clouds stretched endlessly like a white ocean beneath her, but it wasn't the view that made her heart race, it was the life she was leaving behind. Seated in the hushed luxury of first class, with a glass of wine trembling slightly in her hand, she felt as though she might wake up at any moment, back in the place where dreams like this were never meant for people like her. Just months ago, Esther had nothing but silent tears, unanswered prayers, and a past she wished she could erase. Now she was on a flight to the United States, a destination that once sounded as distant as the moon. How did a woman who had been written off, mocked, and nearly broken beyond repair end up here, wrapped in comfort, flying toward a future no one saw coming? As the aircraft surged forward through the night sky, Esther closed her eyes for a second, and the memories came flooding back. The betrayal. The humiliation. The moment everything fell apart, and the shocking twist that changed her life forever. Sit back, because this is not just a story of success, it's a story of survival, revenge, grace, and a miracle no one believed could happen. Life has a peculiar way of sharpening the people it refuses to destroy. Not loudly. Not publicly. Quietly, in kitchens after midnight, on tear-stained pillows, in rooms where nobody is watching. For Esther, the breaking point came wrapped in something that looked like love. She had been married to Daniel for 9 years. Not a dramatic marriage. Not violent. Not scandalous. Just slowly suffocating. In the early years, Daniel adored her. He loved that she was gentle, soft-spoken, deeply thoughtful. He said she was peace in human form. She believed him. She built her whole world around that sentence. Esther was a schoolteacher, the kind who stayed late to help struggling children, who spent her salary buying books for students whose parents couldn't afford them. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't loud. But she was deeply good. Daniel, on the other hand, was climbing. Promotions, business trips, new circles, new expectations. At first, he took her along. Later, he began to apologize for her. "She's simple," he would say to colleagues with an embarrassed laugh. Then came the subtle corrections. "Maybe don't talk too much at dinner. Wear something more sophisticated. Try to be interesting, Esther." She tried. God, she tried. Cooking classes. Fashion blogs. Public speaking workshops. Even learning wine etiquette, though she hated alcohol. But the higher he climbed, the smaller she became. Until one evening, after a company gala she had spent weeks preparing for, Daniel said the sentence that would echo in her bones for years. "I feel alone even when you're standing next to me." 3 months later, he asked for a separation. 6 months later, he moved out. 9 months later, she received a glossy wedding invitation. Daniel was marrying Vanessa, a media personality known for her sharp wit, dazzling beauty, and social influence. But the real wound wasn't the wedding. It was the handwritten note inside. "I hope you can come. Closure is healthy for everyone." Signed, Vanessa. Esther didn't cry when she read it. She just sat very still, like a person trying not to bleed on a white carpet. She had no dramatic comeback story. No secret inheritance. No miracle investor. No overnight glow-up. Her life simply became quiet. She kept teaching. Kept walking home alone. Kept watering the dying plant Daniel had forgotten to take. Until one rainy afternoon, something small happened. A new student transferred into her class, a withdrawn boy named Samuel who refused to speak. Teachers had labeled him difficult. Some suspected trauma, others gave up. But Esther didn't. She started leaving little notes on his desk. "You matter. I'm glad you came today. You don't have to talk until you're ready." Weeks passed. Nothing. Then one day, she found a crumpled paper in return. 3 shaky words. "Thank you, Ma." Samuel began to talk. Slowly. Carefully. Like someone testing whether the world was safe. He started smiling. Then laughing. Then excelling. Esther thought that was the end of it. She didn't know his father was one of the country's most respected child psychologists, a man who had spent months watching his son disappear into silence after his mother's death. She didn't know he had been observing the school closely, desperate for anything that might help. She didn't know he had read every note she wrote to Samuel. 2 weeks before Daniel's wedding, Esther received a phone call. A private foundation wanted to meet her. She assumed it was about school funding. It wasn't. They offered her something almost absurd. A leadership role in a nationwide educational initiative focused on emotional support for children. Training programs. Research collaborations. Policy influence. Your approach saved a child we couldn't reach, the board chairman said gently. We need teachers like you at the front, not hidden in classrooms. The position came with a salary larger than anything she had imagined, but that wasn't what stunned her. It was the respect. The listening. The way they spoke as if her quiet compassion were a rare skill, not a weakness. She accepted. But she told almost no one. Not even her neighbors. Not even most colleagues. Some transformations are too sacred to announce before they settle into your bones. On the wedding day, Esther almost didn't go. Not out of fear. Out of indifference. But something in her heart whispered. Go. Not to prove anything. Just to see who you are now. She wore a simple navy dress, modest, elegant, unremarkable. No designer labels. No dramatic makeover. Just calm dignity. When she entered the venue, no one gasped. No one whispered. She looked like exactly what she was, a quiet woman who didn't belong to that glittering world. Daniel noticed her eventually. His expression flickered with something complicated, relief, discomfort, nostalgia. Vanessa approached with polished grace. I'm glad you came, she said sweetly, though her eyes were studying Esther like a competitor sizing up a harmless opponent. Esther smiled. You invited me. During the reception, the host began acknowledging special guests. Then a murmur started near the back of the hall. Heads turned. Phones lifted. A distinguished older man had just entered with security and aides, someone clearly important. He scanned the room once, then walked directly toward Esther. People parted without understanding why. He stopped in front of her, his face softening in a way powerful men rarely allow. Mrs. Adeyemi, he said quietly, using her professional title. I wasn't expecting you'd be here. Confusion rippled through the guests. Esther stood. Good evening, sir. He took her hand in both of his. My son spoke his first full sentence in months because of you, he said, voice thick with emotion. You gave him back to me. The hall fell into stunned silence. Someone whispered his name. More whispers followed, recognition spreading like wildfire. He turned to the audience. This woman is the reason our foundation's new National Child Wellness Program exists. She'll be leading it. Shock detonated across the room. Daniel stared as if the floor had tilted. Vanessa's smile froze in place. But the real twist hadn't come yet. The man added quietly, almost as an afterthought. We tried to contact her husband first, months ago, to thank him for supporting her work. We were told she had none. Daniel's face went white. Not just embarrassment. Realization. He hadn't simply left a quiet woman. He had walked away from something extraordinary before it had a chance to bloom. Later, he found her alone near the garden lights. Esther. I didn't know, he said hoarsely. She looked at him gently, not cold, not triumphant. Just, free. You didn't want to know, she replied softly. He swallowed. I thought you needed me. She shook her head. No, Daniel. I needed space to become who I was without constantly apologizing for it. He looked as though he might say something else, something desperate, something too late. But she saved him from that humiliation. "I'm glad you're happy," she said kindly. And for the first time since their marriage ended, she meant it. As she walked toward the exit, she felt no surge of victory. No dramatic satisfaction. Just a quiet, steady peace, like a storm that had finally finished passing. Outside, the night air was cool and clean. Her phone buzzed. A message from Samuel. "Ma, I got first place in the science fair." She smiled, a real smile, warm and unguarded. Not the smile of someone who had defeated her past, but of someone who had outgrown it. People would later call her story inspirational. They would say she rose from rejection. They would say she proved her worth. But Esther knew the truth. She didn't rise because someone left. She rose because, in the silence that followed, she finally stopped shrinking. And the world didn't change because she became louder. It changed because she stopped believing quiet meant small. Lesson to be learnt: there are hidden strengths in everyone awaiting a good structure for manifestation. Can you share a similar story briefly? Let's meet in the comments. Please like and subscribe. It keeps us going. Thanks.